Because the Bible said, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice.
People rejoice.
But when you look at Romans 13 in its context, Romans 13 says the righteous should not fear government. The evil should. But right now, because we voted in all the rotten trees, now the righteous gotta fear government and the evil don't. Blessings, everyone, and welcome to People Over the Party. I am your host, Dr. David D. King, and y'all know what this is. This is Think About It Tuesday, and we're about to have an amazing time on Think About It Tuesday. I have two amazing men of God who love our community, love the young people, and that's why our conversation is going to be about is the young people today. And I want to welcome straight from the streets who I don't. This man will go into Beirut to help a family. I don't watch him go into areas that was dangerous, and also he can be a comedian when he do live sometimes too. You didn't bring the wig, did you?
Nah, I ain't bring it.
So
left
we
it at
want to
home.
welcome VAUN onto the show with us today, and we got a school. Been working to help the young people. He does everything he can do for the young people to the fact that they come off the streets looking for him. Dr. James Ferguson. Welcome, gentlemen.
Peace.
Morning.
How y'all doing today?
Great.
So far, so good today.
So far, so good. All right. Okay, we're gonna get this started in a way where well, y'all know me, I always got something up my sleeve. But I think I want to start this conversation off about what happened in Bayshore because VAUN, you was there when it happened and everything. And can you talk about, and then we're gonna address this trend of takeovers that's going around the country right now.
Yeah. So Bayshore was one of a series of flyers that went out that day that were promoting these teen takeover locations. I believe one other one was supposed to be for Mayfair, and I think there may have been one more that day. And so we did respond to Bayshore, but I want people to understand that Bayshore specifically has been having these issues about a year or a year and a half prior to this. That was brought to my attention by Alderman Tamika Vukovic that's out there in Glendale. And so we had been talking about this for a while before those takeover flyers. The difference in this one was the takeovers brought a mass of young people versus the twos and fews that have been doing it before in different situations. So the thing about the takeovers is this, I believe, originated in Chicago. They've had this issue for a number of years with like the downtown takeovers. And then social media, I kind of liken it to how the Kia Boys started here, and then once it hit social media, it spread to about 4 or 5 other states. So this is another trend that started somewhere locally, caught on social media, and then now nationally it's an issue. So these are all coordinated national issues of teens making these flyers, choosing locations. And I think the thing of it is for them to go and have this wild, crazy footage to post under these teen takeovers, um, which is what happened in Bayshore. And, being there and seeing, we were there at least, I was there 2 hours prior, and I know there were two other individuals, CVI field workers, who were there maybe an hour or two prior to me as well. Um, that time leading up to 4 o'clock, which was the time that the takeover was supposed to start, we saw two totally different things. You saw a mass of young people, about 50 or so prior to 4 o'clock, who they were patronizing. They were walking around with their peer groups, having a good time, and we, even talking with them, asking them like, "What are y'all here for? Like, what's going on?" And they were there for the takeover, but their thing was, we just want to see what happened. This is where everybody's supposed to be, and we kind of just waiting to see what happened. So you had young people who were there hours prior, leading up to that, who were not causing a problem, who were not, there being chaotic, but were there merely because they don't really have much else to do with their peer group, and this is where their peer group was supposed to be. And so I know people like to demonize our young people in totality. That's something I've always had an issue with. My work in Sherman Park in 2016 started for that exact reason, of people just having this mindset of our young people where it's like, throw them away. None of them no good. They all like that. And that's just simply not true. The prevention side of things, of like knowing if there's a mass of young people and things can potentially happen, we want to be there to deter and prevent. But if things do happen, we also want to be there to de-escalate, or avoid as much injury or arrest as possible. So that's kind of where we were that
you
day.
got pepper spray too, didn't you?
By the police. I will say it was by the police. They kind of, there were some girls fighting, and they sprayed into the crowd to kind of break that up, and we were in the middle of that and kind of caught some of that. But that stuff happens, I ain't gonna say often, but in our line of work, that's something that happens. So we kind of used to it a little bit.
Yeah. And Dr. Ferguson, I know, just like Von Mays and myself, by having those types of organizations that we help the young people, I noticed this summer your group of young people, I saw them do something that was amazing. When they did the pure pressure, what was it that they put on the wall in the conference room?
Yeah, they were discussing like mental wellness.
Yes.
And personal wellness, and just navigating life as young people. Because before we started this live today, we were just kind of reminiscing about what life used to be like.
Right.
Before now. It's different. Life is just different now. The things that the kids delve off into is just different. Vaughn was just talking about something that these takeovers may have started in Chicago, but because of social media, which wasn't around when none of us were kids.
Ooh, thank God.
Now, things that happen in Chicago can directly affect what happens here in Milwaukee in a really quick way.
Yes.
And I think this summer, so just to back up a little bit, during my time doing direct service with kids via, the Howard Fuller Education Foundation, CYD, West Care, I was a cognitive behavior therapist. And so I spent my time helping adjudicated youth with a crime, helping them to change their thought patterns so that their behavior would change. So in my life now, I still, the CBT in me won't disappear.
Right.
So I'm constantly, even the young people here, we have great young people. Every summer, we look forward to having them here with us. But even them, I'm constantly trying to help them take control of their thoughts
Yes.
because everything starts in the mind. So even those behaviors that are impulsive, you know, to become an impulsive person, something has to happen in the mind first. And so, what I try to do with every young person that I come in contact with is kind of get a hold of their mind. What are they thinking about?
Yeah.
What kind of things give them that feeling of excitement, that dopamine rush? Because if you can understand that, then you can predict their behavior first of all, and then if you can figure out a way to interrupt those negative thought patterns, then you can interrupt their negative behaviors.
Yes. And as all of us age bracket, y'all the oldest, I'm the youngest. You know, and I'll say for me because I'm now dealing with third and fourth generations
Mhm.
of people that I help in this city, right?
Mhm.
And so the one thing that I'm seeing, and y'all can touch on this as well. One thing I'm seeing is that they're not dreaming anymore. Each generation looked like they was losing their dream.
Mhm.
I can be this, I can do this, I can do this. And now you're getting to that point where there's no hope, because you remember the time where they used to say, I'm lucky if I make it to 25.
Mhm.
Now they are saying, I'm lucky if I make it to 21. And so they don't even see themselves in that being alive or even understanding that they have a purpose. So my question to you two is, what do you think we can do to get them some hope and to make them dream again?
I actually will say I think it's a little bit more dire than that because for me it was a thing of 18,
Okay.
and I think a lot of these young people don't, and it's a thing of youth. Period. I don't think we think future wise. I know a lot of young ladies do. They're mapping out their future at 14, 15, 16 years. But for the most part, a lot of young people don't think about tomorrow. It's like day to day. So for them, a lot of them don't even think they're going to make it past their teens. Like they just living to live, and death isn't like as a thought in their head like that. They experience their friends losing their friends and stuff like that, but as far as their own mortality, they don't really think about that a lot. And I think the thought process for them is not happening. Like it's just a lot of impulse. It's way more impulse than anything else. But the other piece of it, why it's getting worse, is the adults have no hope. So when you look at the adults and the elders losing hope,
Yeah.
and they, like I said, the attitude of I've never seen, and this literally sparked my work into youth of our community. We used to looking on Fox 6 comments and all these other, whenever there's a negative story put out about Milwaukee, you can just go in there and you can imagine what you finna read from these people outside our community, right? These comments. But now you can't even tell the difference of those people and our people because they're making the same kind of comments. And that is where the problem come in. Okay. Because when these young people are on social media and they see that stuff being said about them by their own elders and their own adults who expect this respect, they expect this, this whole hierarchy of how it used to be back when, our youth and prior of you a child, we the adults, all that needs to come from you is yes, no, and respect, right? But if they're not getting the respect, if they're not looked at as our future, right, and they're not being invested and poured into, then they have no reason to respect and look for that from us. And I've seen that turn into manifestations of them feeling like all they have is each other. You know what I'm saying? Now it's them against the elders. It's them against the businesses. It's them against the programs. It's them against, you know, all these adult figures who are supposed to be the thinking moral, you know, standards for them, but they don't have, like, we're not operating in the best morality and stance. We're not showing the best, even for the people who think they are. A lot of these people who making these comments, I'm like, if you're advocating for and cheering for people's death as an adult, what do you expect a child to do if they see that's how you conducting yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I think that's a problem. Tackle is the grown people and the adults and their perspective and their how they're leading visibly for our young people to see, because we all know there's certain communities or in most communities, if there's a person that they like and that they respect, them people stuff don't get touched.
Right.
They protect those people,
Mhm.
right? But it's so few of them people. You know what I mean? And it's becoming less and less of those people. So if they have nobody to respect and nobody to protect, then everybody's kind of, it's just, we're all at odds.
You know, I'm glad you said it like that, because when I was when my church was on the corner of Richards and Concordia, me and you was talking about that in my office.
Mhm.
I didn't have a lot of vicinity, 4 block north side. We had just buried one, and we was at the repast, and I was leaning on the fence, and one came to the fence and said, "Man, you really love us.
Mhm.
You don't judge us or nothing." I was like, and I always remind the young people, y'all might smoke your blunts, smoke, but you know, in front.
Mhm.
We anything you doing, but we did it in a different way, and we're not here to judge you
Mhm.
because of what you're doing. We're just showing you we was there, we got out. Now we want to show you how you can have a better life.
Mhm. Yeah, I was I was gonna say too, it's how they're dreaming.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the other thing that we gotta realize is young people, when you walk around, all you gotta do is, even for the young people that we have here, which they ain't the ones that have been adjudicated. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They're the ones who come from the better homes and households.
Yeah.
But when you ask them, like, hey, what do you aspire to be? You don't get what you used to get. Oh, I
Right.
want to be a lawyer. I want to
Mhm.
be a doctor. I want to be a teacher. Nobody wants to be a teacher.
Mhm.
So you never get that.
Mhm.
Every now and then you might hear something like a lawyer or a doctor, a firefighter.
Yeah.
Nobody want to be a police. You know, most people are like, I want to be an influencer. I
Right.
want to be this. An artist.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a creative. You'll hear stuff like that. So I think a part of this perception that they're not dreaming is the fact that the perception that they're not dreaming is the fact that they don't dream like we used to dream.
Right.
Mhm.
Because when we were younger, we used to, everybody wanted to be a lawyer, a doctor, or, you know, a teacher, a police. Everybody did.
Right.
But now you got the majority of kids who aren't interested in that. And I think a big part of, and a big reason for that is because in our real community, every time somebody is a lawyer or a doctor, the first thing they do is run away from them.
That's it.
That's the first thing we do. I made a decision, you know, that even though I have a doctorate and I have a JD and all of this stuff, I still wanted to stay in my community.
Right.
Not because, you know, I necessarily like everything that happens in my community, but because I know that a lot of times the young people, if they don't see it, they don't believe they can be it.
Right.
They don't believe that it's within their reach because literally you go into communities and in the whole community, nobody's a high school graduate.
Right.
In the whole community, nobody's gone to college. And so that begins to fade away in terms of what you want to be, what you dreaming of becoming. You want to be a judge? You want to be this?
Right.
Well, if everybody who grew up in the hood, and I really hate this dynamic. everybody who grows up to accomplish anything in their life, the first thing we do is run away from the hood.
Yep.
We don't want to be there. It ain't good no more. And we need to see the bigger picture though of what that does to that hood. Other side looking at the hood and we like, yeah, they, look at them. They ain't doing nothing. They doing this. And what are we showing them though?
Yeah. And I'm glad you said it that way because couple of things. Number one, I've been a pastor since 98 in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I had opportunities to take churches outside of the state. I was offered churches in Georgia. You come down here and you can get a church and you know how they treat church pastors down in the South, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, no, I can't leave my city.
Mm-hmm.
My city need me more than the South need me.
Mhm.
Same.
And so when I started teaching the young people about work ethics and soft skills, I did a test with them. I took my resume and I put it on Indeed. And then what we ended up doing was we had to show them what was like. For example, they would see my resume and then they would see job offers come, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they saw offers like CEO or project manager and all of these things. And they asked me a question. If you could make that kind of money doing that, why are you doing this? I said, I'm doing this for y'all.
Right.
I believe in y'all. I want to invest in you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I do what I do. I don't do it. I mean, I always tell people, I'm not trying to be successful. I'm trying to be valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be there for you so that way you can go and be there for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I watched the social media, the influencers. Because when I was growing up, who was my influencer? Bruce Lee. I wanted to be Bruce Lee. I wanted to. That's why I took Taekwondo. That's why I took karate. Right? Because what we saw and it looked cool to us, just like them. What they see right
imitated.
now.
Right. That's what you imitated.
And that's what you got access to. Like, I think having the ability to dream, because and the reason why that is becoming more of a thing is exploitation is now a career.
Mm-hmm.
They're making that. Just like how before it was just basketball, you can either play basketball or you can rap and make it, right? So everybody's going for those two things because we all got talent and we all think we got talent. So now it's like exploitation is the order of the day to where you can blow up tomorrow if you exploit yourself to a certain degree or be willing to exploit yourself to a certain degree. And that's the easiest. I mean, you ain't got to have talent to do that.
Right.
So now everybody's rushing toward that because also with that comes the attention, it comes the money and all this stuff as far as people think. But one of the things that I kind of have put into our work and programs over the years is exposing young people to stuff that they may not be thinking of, right? Like for instance, one of our things that we did was just something that's what do we call it, a s'mores program, right? And you would think, I mean, s'mores is not something you make a program out of, right? But I had to think, I was 29, 28 years old the first time I ever had and made a physical s'more myself.
Really?
So the fact that I have not in my life been able to sit and do something so simple, it made me think, how many people have never gotten to do this, right?
Right.
And we have gone, I mean, we do national disaster relief. So we've been to Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, all these different places, right? So even taking this to these different cities and states, it'd be people in their 80s who have never made a s'more ever in their life. So everybody from a little baby to an old person or elderly person have not had this experience in their life, have not even been exposed to being able to have this experience, even though you would think that's something just so simple. A lot of our people still have never left their block, still have never left their side of town, still have never left this city.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so having these opportunities to where when we do national disaster relief, we're taking youth with us to experience these different places and the history and the culture and the food and stuff like that. So even somebody saying, I would want to probably run FEMA one day. I would probably, want to, go to college in this place that I've never been to that now I see and I see what's here. That those experiences, exposing people to that different stuff has the ability to make people dream again because now they see this is stuff that I can actually do. I applaud Lena was senator, now judge, you know, for her work in agriculture, because even agriculture, arborists, like these are things that we don't think about as jobs or careers or opportunities in our career unless somebody puts them in our face and explains to us how this is something we can do, right? So I think we have to be more intentional about exposing our young people to other possibilities. Yeah. Otherwise, it won't ever cross their mind.
Right. And just like you and I was talking in the office, this is one of the reasons why I take young people up north with me, right? Because what they say, like you say, what they say racism is, you know, they really saw it. But and I just took 2 with me up to Coon Valley, right? And I took them up to Coon Valley. Now, listen to the name of it, Coon Valley.
Yeah, it sounds crazy.
Right. So when they got up there, you know, the environment was so different. You know, that it was so very respectful. They was able to engage with the police officer up there. Didn't feel threatened. You know, just having a nice conversation with them, with the people there. Till one guy told them, "Man, y'all so nice and respectful. Anytime y'all want to change environments, y'all can come here. Ain't got to stay in a hotel. Y'all can stay with us." And they was like, "Wow, this is different." You know, they thinking, you know, we got to go up here. We got to walk on eggshells. The guy was like, "No, I'll take y'all." They do some up there. They call it coyote hunting. Like, we'll take y'all coyote hunting. You know, something new to let you shoot guns for real. Show you the safety of the guns, and I mean, just to experience the other side of it, right? Like going working with the farmers on their land and see what it is. Go see an Amish community. They don't know nothing like that, right? And then they'll be like, "Oh my God, how do they live with no electricity?"
Right.
They ain't got Wi-Fi. I don't know if I want to hang out here.
Right.
But I mean, these are the things that we have to expose them to, so that way they'll know that they can do it. Like we exposed them into podcasting this summer, right? They created their own podcast, and we got them to use their mind, and that's what we want them to do. You know, be able to use their mind. But so my next question to you guys is this: where do we start where we can set up something where if we get funding, no strings attached, and they allow us to be organic with what we're trying to do?
I always say a priority is space. And, you know, for me, it's intentional space. Because there's a lot of, you know, when you talk about the takeovers and the different stuff with young people, now the conversation has shifted to what you know, what can we do and what the needs are. And folks are saying, well, they don't have this, they don't have this. And then people are interjecting in that conversation. Yeah, we do have all these youth spaces and all this and that. The thing is, for instance, right, you have a bars and then you got like after sets, right?
Right.
After sets are for, it has to be a space for them people who can't necessarily go to a bar and do
Now, those
you know
my
what I'm saying?
age, after set is an after hour, because we knew it as after hours.
And there's stuff that happen in the after hours that can't happen in a bar.
That's right.
And that is a contained way for them people to have a good time, right? Now, if you have the wrong people running that could be a problem.
Yes.
But there's still intentional space for those people who operate in that realm, right? And those people are in that space instead of out in your communities and where anything can happen. Right. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be intentional about the space you make for certain people and certain groups. And intentional space meaning not just one organization can be like, this is my space, can't nobody else come in here and use it. It needs to be a multi-use. If you have an organization and some young people that need somewhere to go and you don't necessarily have a building to do that, they should be able to access that space to do what's necessary for them to do, right? So I mean a community-controlled youth center space that has all the different stuff, not just the fun stuff, because that's the other piece of it. Like the draw in the fun stuff for them to do that they're actually interested in, that could you know be the drawing piece for them, but actually wrap around all those other different things that we talked about, the services, the class, the extra classes to build their mind and all that stuff. You have to do that all in one, like a one-stop shop. I always say we need a Sherman Phoenix of programming, and we don't have that.
Right.
and everybody's hollering, I got this space and the kids ain't coming. Well, I've seen some of these spaces and they ain't necessarily welcoming to some of these young people, specifically the ones that we talking about that everybody run from.
Right.
So that is something that is sorely needed in this community, intentional space that is welcoming for a certain population, but also for all the young people, because they want to share space with their peers, but they want to do it safely. They want to feel like they're safe. They want to feel like they are not being judged and being told and forced what to do, you know, and they want to do that in a way where, you know, because at the end of the day, young people, especially when you talk about 14 up to the 17-year-old bracket, these are young people, but they're becoming individuals and they're becoming young adults. So they may have had all the correct raising, because I can tell you some of these young people ain't acting the same out here in this community as they do at home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So me specifically, as someone who's ran successful programming with dealing with that population, I know to a fact where we've been able to take them in different spaces and have success with them by building because again, I look at them, that was me.
Yeah.
You know, we were the Kia boys of our time. Right. We didn't do it the same. We definitely didn't do it the same way, but we were taking people cars. Right. You know what I'm saying? And we were doing other things for fun and for, you know, to make money. So knowing those pieces and then seeing these young people how they are now and knowing what because we asked them. You don't have to keep asking the same questions what y'all want. A lot of times these young people are saying the same thing, but nobody's listening to implement what they want, how they're saying they'll be most comfortable, right? So I think those spaces. And outside of that, there's an idea that I've had about even the alternatives to incarceration. So for even those young people who may need a little bit further helping, but not necessarily a Wells or a Lincoln Hills.
Right.
Because as someone I've never been to Wells or Lincoln Hills. I know a lot of people who have, and I know that whole thing that's going on with that. But for someone who's been to jail and prison, that's not reform.
No.
So we need something that's, if you have to limit someone's freedom, right? You need to do it in a way that's going to be impactful and it's going to actually change the conditions. Right. So even for that piece, there's some intentional things that could be done, but that also requires space.
And you know,
and access to the space.
I think what makes us three successful dealing with the youth is we never forgot where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
And we can relate to them. And like you say, I was a kill boy, but not like that a kill boy, right? And I ran the streets, but not the way y'all run in the streets, because we all had rules. If the street light came on, you better be on that porch. But we ran the streets, and we never did it in our neighborhoods because everybody else had the right to correct you in the neighborhood. So what did? We go away from our neighborhood. But you're right. If we had a place that was cooked, that was designed for, because here's what I found out. When you find the influencer of that group and they want better, that group want better. So if that influencer is struggling on reading and it creeps away and know it can go to a place and learn how to read, or it can or learn how to build their credit, guess what's going to happen? That whole crew is going to come because they're going to want something. I remember when travel agency first came out and was popular, I got a couple of drug dealers to stop selling drugs and became a travel agency because I was telling them, you got a business, you buy product, you package it, you hire people. I said, but this business here, you get to travel, and they would treat you with top notch because they want you to advertise their location. Man, they started traveling this country. They was like, man, I ain't got to look over my shoulder now. You know, I can enjoy my money. I can enjoy my life. I ain't looking on my shoulder. Some of them brought box trucks and started
transferable skills.
Yeah, and then some got dump trucks. So they was making their money still. We just directed their mindset into a different direction. Never judge, and that's what the older folks got to stop doing. We judge and condemn them. You listen to a preacher that's at a funeral. He's talking about their blunts. He's talking about their pants not up. He's not talking about how we can help you better your life. He's condemning them for what they're doing right now. So we have to stop trying to condemn and try to redirect that energy.
Mhm.
You know, and I think if we get
That's
a
it.
place like that for them,
Mhm.
man, that place would. I can see that place being open 24/7
Mhm.
Yeah.
because that mother that's on drugs and that kid want a safe place,
Mhm.
they can go in there.
Mhm. I'm glad you said that too. When you said you go in church, the preacher talking about the blunts and the pants, and you know what? The truth is, they did it too.
Yes,
Mhm.
You just did it differently. You didn't have blunts. You smoked joints.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
did the
So-
same thing.
the same thing. But it's just funny how things turn, though.
Mhm.
You know, and then how horrible it is when it's another generation.
Mhm.
And you feel like you done made it to wherever you feel you done made it to.
Mhm.
And so I think you're right. We came from. Don't forget the alleys they gambled in. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Now it's true that times have evolved. So, you know, like reefer is what y'all used to do. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Reefer.
I think it is different now.
Or
Be-
grass.
Grass. Yeah.
Because it's just so much. Like the world has changed. It's
Mhm.
changed so much. So you know, gambling. I remember growing up, my uncles used to gamble and stuff like that. And one thing that you were definitely going to see at the gamble game, at the crap game, was weapons, guns.
Right.
And if something broke out, and it did. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm just like, hey, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Mhm.
But you know, the only thing changed is the wording.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
It's still the same stuff. It's just
Mhm.
you just gotta, you know, and I think for the older people, because I'm gonna put a lot of this on us.
Mhm.
Because like VAUN said, they don't have a lot of us in the community they can look up to.
Mhm.
So the older people, we don't want to change, but we forgot. Coming up, you had the hippies, then you had the process group,
Mhm.
right? So each group, the older ones couldn't stand that group of kids that was
Before,
coming
yeah.
up.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, oh, y'all crazy, y'all this, yeah. But y'all doing the same. Y'all did the same thing.
Yeah, you got to be careful not to become that old, mean, don't never like nothing person. And listen, you catch yourself because listen, every year when them fireworks start going off, I'll be like, I get a headache. Like I cannot believe I thought this was fun. Now I can't stand them. I want they should ban all the fireworks, right? So
they should ban them all.
assessment is incredibly hard for people to do.
Yeah.
Even to the point where I have to get on people online of like, okay, you are mad at these kids for stealing cars, right? But I see a lot of y'all are buying from boosters.
Yeah.
Ain't that stealing?
Mhm.
You're contributing to stealing, right? So how is one stealing wrong and the other one ain't?
It's a market for it.
That's what I'm saying. But you can't be that person that's doing something wrong, but then looking at the other person like this is the lowest person ever. And I'm like, to somebody else, that's like, you know, when we used to work with the kids, right? It used to be the funniest thing ever. The kid with $3 is being called broke by the kid with $7. And I'm like, well, the kid with $8 is calling both of y'all broke. So
Right.
what is this broke conversation?
Right.
So people's perspective don't get the opportunity to change because they so used to their own perspective that it never gets an adjustment to reality. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what came to my head when you said that?
Mm-hmm.
James, stop stealing that car. Can I buy them ties from you?
Right. So the I roll up with them stolen tires, you go buy them.
Yeah. Or you sitting in the barbershop, they don't took all the detergent from Walmart and you was buying it, but Tom, it's a shame they still the car.
Right. Come on, man.
My Lord.
But you're right though. We have our own self-righteousness.
Right.
That part.
We have our
That
own
part.
and our self-righteousness, we condemning the kids for doing what we're doing. And you got a grown person smoking a blunt. Telling them kids ain't got no business smoking a blunt. But you smoking a blunt. They ain't got no business doing. They need to go get a job. But you ain't got a job.
Listen.
I mean, we have to, like you say, we have to find a place where they can come and we can set it up. And the reason I say without government funding, because we don't need no strings attached.
Mhm.
We need it to be whatever we need it to be at that moment for that group of people. Because in the daytime, you might get a group, like you say, they won't go to the after hour.
Right.
And you already know those that went to the after hour, if you was a bar person in the after hour, that was shell shock. You was like, wait a minute, what they doing? Because you ain't used to seeing nothing like that. So you be like, girl, I ain't never going back with you. Or you get converted to the after hours group of people. You be like, oh, I like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd do nothing like this.
And it's just creating that safe space, and it's adjusted to the people that it's serving. You know what I mean? And that's is necessary. It's necessary in this world because it's clubs and it's different stuff for a bunch of different people, right? And it's usually catered to that group. And that's why everybody don't go to the same bar. They have a favorite bar, or they got a favorite this, a favorite that, because it's more adjusted to their comfortability and what they like. And so when you have young people who saying, this is what we want and this is what we need, and you like, okay, but I'm going to create that, but I'm going to only want A, B, and C students there because they good. I ain't got to worry about them.
Right.
You can't do that.
Well, then you got to ask yourself a question then. If you take the A, B, and C students, there's really no labor.
That's exactly what I'm getting, the point that I'm getting at.
Right.
That has become, when the conversation shifted to at risk, any child or young person that grows up in this city is at risk. So you can say I'm dealing with at-risk students and be talking about the A, B, and C students.
Right.
So, and that's how a lot of these organizations are getting away with this. And this is why we talk, again, I had to create a program for young people outside of a super huge name. I ain't gonna say their name because I don't, but if there's a huge building here getting millions and millions of dollars to serve youth, why do I have to create a youth program outside your doors? Literally, your door is here and my program is right. The sidewalk is there and I'm on the other side of the sidewalk, serving 200 or 300 kids that can't go in your building.
Right.
Why is that? And it's happened in multiple different places. So it's not an anomaly. That's telling me that something y'all doing in this building is not welcoming to them, or y'all are not welcoming to them.
Well, I could tell you what it is, because I remember I was at a meeting with Children's Hospital and a lot of youth organizations. And as we was talking, and I was sharing the exact same thing we're saying now. What about the children? And I asked the question in there. I said, let's be honest. Only reason y'all here is because it's part of y'all paycheck. You have to be here. I said, but when it's really time for the work, y'all don't want that work because y'all scared of them, because you won't build a relationship with them. So you're afraid to really talk to them. You're afraid to really interact with them because you're not prepared to act with them. Why? Because you forgot where you came from. And that's what it is. My job is to get my numbers, not to have success. And you can easily have success with A, B, and C students.
Right.
But can you have success with D, U, and dropouts?
Well, from my experience, and I've worked with from A all the way to U. A all the way to I ain't even on the scale. Is you and then come so I'm a kind of crossover between my spiritual side and then the natural side. So in the spirit, we know that God anoints you to do certain things, to deal with in certain spaces. Like, for example, God anointed you in the area of government. There's a governmental grace on your life. So is it on mine. But some people, politics, this whole space is just daunting. It's intimidating. It's not exciting. It's boring. It's all of that. But when I was a child, I never watched Power Rangers. I never watched, X-Men, Spider-Man, that kind of stuff. I used to fight with my siblings because I wanted to watch the State of the Union and they wanted to watch Power Rangers. You know what I'm saying? And we only had one TV. So who gonna win out?
Mhm.
And so, but what I realize now is that God had marked me since I was a child. Now I know it was in my mother's womb. He had already predetermined that this is what I'm gonna do
Right.
in my life. These are the areas of influence that I'm gonna move in. And so I think when it comes to young people, to youth, it's not necessarily a bad thing that, like, for example, you got student achievers, you got boys and girls club. They deal with specific kinds of young people. I don't think
Thank you
it's
for
necessarily a
saying
bad thing. If you can have
It's not at
success
all.
and you can continue to drive success in that lane, great. But then there was a woman named Janetta Robinson
hmm
who God anointed her to deal with the young people that everybody else could not deal with.
Yes.
They couldn't deal with them. And let me tell you how the world needs more Janetta Robinsons.
Oh, yes.
Milwaukee needs more Janetta Robinsons. Let me tell you, MPS needs more Janetta Robinsons. We need those people to come forward too, because God anointed them to work with these young people that Boys and Girls Club don't want to deal with that.
Right.
They don't want to work with that. Even the people they hire, they're not even equipped to deal with that.
You know what's funny when you say that? When you talk about Janetta Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
I think of my cousin,
Mm-hmm.
Tori Johnson, Tojo.
Tojo.
Tojo came from Janetta
I
Robinson.
know. The Boys Club couldn't deal with the Tojo.
No, they couldn't. But Janetta Robinson could.
Not even today.
And Janetta Robinson could, and
Mhm.
then she could ignite something in them that turned them from menaces to society to success stories in that society.
Yes.
And look at Tory today.
Look at him.
Look at him today. And now his son is a coach in one of my schools.
Right.
Mhm.
And he's got that same kind of anointing,
Yes.
but in the area of athletics. And he's doing some, I mean, almost his whole team
Yes.
are A and B students.
Yep.
But I think, and I'm like, well, look at his dad. His dad honed in and learned via Janetta Robinson
Yep.
what his niche was, his call was, and he leaned into it and he found great success. And now your son is leaning into his. And these are students who I just believe if they didn't have Tory Johnson Jr. in their life,
Right.
they would be average kids dreaming of being a basketball player.
Yep.
But he's actually pouring into them, and not only pouring into them athletically, but academically they're producing in a Montessori school. And so I'm like, you know what? That's nothing but the anointing.
Right. And not only that, they got the son in
Yeah.
the school.
Yeah.
So you got 3 generations
Yeah.
coming off the tree of
So many. And I had the privilege of running CYD for a number of years after Charles retired, her son. And first of all, CYD did not close on my watch. Let me just put that out there for somebody who might be watching.
We also got to throw that in there about all these youth servant organizations, those ones that are closing. The City on the Hill just closed.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and while we keep talking about we all got all this stuff, you know, SDC we got to talk about all this stuff we got out here, and then we got all this out, but it's those ones that's intentional that work with them the ones that shutting down.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I have, so that's a whole nother podcast. I promise you, because I've been silent for a lot of years concerning this, and it pains my heart every time I ride past 3rd and Clark,
Right.
MLK and Clark, and see that building. It's so painful because I know that corner was a light
It was.
for so many young people that lived in the dark.
Yes.
Mhm.
And when I say live in the dark, I mean that on every front. You know, not just living, you know, outside of the normal situation.
Right.
Mhm.
Like these are kids who are homeless, you know, kids who are being abused sexually, mentally, physically all of these types of things, they would find hope there.
Right.
That corner represented hope for them. And to know that we as a community
Yeah.
allow that place to go down like that is absolutely heartbreaking. And it still breaks my heart every single time I drive past that building. Every single time. It never changes. It never eases up. I always feel that way. Because for one of my mentors, Dr. James White, also came from under CYD, Janetta Robinson, and the list goes on and on and on about people who Janetta was anointed to work with people who everybody else thought would throw away.
Exactly.
And so I would say, find out what your anointing is, what you're anointed to do, and start there. Build there, because that's where the success is at. You got too many people trying to emulate what VAUN is doing. Well, he's anointed to do that. I'm not anointed to do what he's doing. He's not anointed to do what I'm doing. And that's the number one problem in our community today.
Man, that is...
Instead of me getting behind VAUN and supporting him in his role and his anointing, I want to sit over here and envy it and try to replicate. See, the anointing don't replicate.
Right. And that's just like he was doing. What was that? Christmas or Thanksgiving? Christmas.
The gift drive. This will be year 13.
Gift drive, and I wasn't gonna go and try to create one. I called him up, said, "I'm gonna cash app you. Don't say nothing. Don't tell my name or nothing,
right?
Because I know what he's doing." And the thing about it is, I say it like this. I ain't gonna name the organization, but they created what I was doing, and everybody said, "Ain't you mad?" I said, "No." Because all they created was an Ishmael. They don't have the anointing to do what I do.
No.
So I don't get jealous, but I'm glad you see that what I'm doing is working.
Yeah.
But you can't be me. Just like I can't be VAUN.
Right.
Now I can go into the hood and talk to young people and offer them some help and stuff like that. But I can't be a VAUN. Because see, VAUN can say it in a language, they look at me. If I say, "Man, oh man, get out of here," or what they use now, I'm gone somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. But VAUN can say it, and he one of them. I'll be saying it, they be like, "Oh, I'm gone."
Listen,
you know?
I ain't the end all be all. You like people, whatever you specialize in, I'm gonna look to you for that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm that kind of person where I'm comfortable with knowing my strengths and again, self-assessment is very hard for people to do.
Yeah, it is.
And we come from a city where the culture is like that replication. People don't have the intellectual ability to come up with something themselves. So they just take whichever way the wind blows and the money going, that's what everybody want to do. You know, and that it does such a disservice to our community and our young people specifically. And that's what I'm saying. I would love to see, and I don't know where Janetta Robinson family is and what they're doing, but I would love to see for there to be her name to become almost like a philanthropy, right? That they're intentional dollars that are for youth and these specific issues. And then there's a collective of people who support, who raise funds, and we're able to support some of this stuff that is necessary, that ain't the usual, that people gonna give a hard time. Because again, MPS, they got to open their doors as well, and they got to open themselves as well, because a lot of this stuff could have been being done for free. Just the fact that they have access to young people. And y'all got the buildings and the space, and you know, even if y'all not gonna support it monetarily, just the access, we could have, because a lot of this stuff starts in the schools and spills out into the community.
Right.
So that very fact, people should be more opening and welcoming to a lot of this stuff that is necessary, that there may be a lot of barriers in, because that ain't how a lot of these governmental corporate.
Yes.
There's a lot of happen. But again, a community don't operate like that. If somebody
why don't we get a building? Let's come together, focus on getting a building, and let's call the building the Janetta Robinson Legacy Tree. That way every organization can stay neutral and nobody can say, "Oh, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine." And it'll be a community thing. Because see, that's the biggest problem with people coming together. You know, we can be just like Pepsi Cola, because Pepsi Cola got Taco Bell, KFC, Lone John. They got them all, but they all keep their identity, but it's all under that one umbrella. I think if we can do that, and then now we can use all of our specialties in that space. I think that would be something. But let me read y'all something that somebody wrote.
Mm-hmm.
They said, there is no money in you work, unfortunately. People would do what brings them glory. People play checkers rather than chess. Get our youth straight now and save millions later.
I agree.
Even the issue with Bayshore, that's the conversation that's going to be had. The amount of money y'all think y'all losing, if you make an investment so these young people have somewhere to be to not come and tear up your stuff and drive away that business, it will be pennies on the dollar compared to what you lose.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, these are not new concepts or new answers or solutions. It's just there has to be a serious move towards some instead of having to cost us all so much on the back end, because we talking about not only dollars, but at this point you got people arrested and put in jail and prison, and you got people who don't go home at all,
Right.
who have to be buried. And so those are huge costs that could be avoided if we invested in the front end.
I would go to whoever this person is that made that statement. I first of all want to affirm what he or she said. There is money, but it's scarce. It's scarce.
Crumbs.
And so, and what typically happens is, because typically access to the money is a competitive process, then you get the same conglomerates winning the money over and over again. And, at some point, it becomes less about actually doing for the kids and more about, getting the bag, getting the money. So that culture of getting the bag don't just exist in rap music.
Right.
That culture is real in the nonprofit community as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're more concerned with getting and securing the bag than they are with actually doing the service.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing disgusts me more than these organizations that are getting millions and millions of dollars every year, but don't have any impact.
And not only that, if you ain't kissed the ring, your application ain't making it to the table.
Anyway, so and you're right. And then especially in the city of Milwaukee, I remember a time where, Safe and Sound, for example,
Right.
had sites all across this city.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can hardly find a youth program that's open for young people,
Right.
to come in off the streets or anything like that. You can hardly find it. You used to be able to find it in every neighborhood.
Yep.
There was at least one safe place. What Safe and Sound called it.
Yep.
It seems like in this city, and I don't know why it's like this or who is behind manipulating this outcome, but it seems to me that every time there's something that actually benefits the community, it's short-lived. Right. Before you know it, the brook dries up. And now you got, instead of people competing for $5 million, you got people competing for $500,000.
Right.
And I don't know, I haven't put my finger on it yet, why this keeps happening.
Well, it's designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say us three going up for this money, right? And you give success stories, he gives success stories, but I already got in with them already, and I ain't gave no success story. I just because if they give it to you guys, then they lose money. Because anytime you solve a problem, you got an organization losing money. So when I did in 2016, 17, 18, when I was giving out jobs, there was 3 organizations that was being paid by the state and block grant money to find people jobs. And they kept telling the people there was no jobs and that we need more money for training. So they was getting more money for training. I came along and I started giving jobs, and I went to all 3 organizations and say, let's partner. My organization is funded privately, so I don't need the numbers. I give y'all my number. Man, they were so terrified. They was like, no. They was like, no. And all they had to do was send the people to my office and they was going to work. They did not want them people to work. When I saw resumes, those resumes would have got you laughed at. So anytime you start to solve the problem, you're a threat to the ones who's crying there's still a problem. And that's the biggest thing that I have in the last 30 years that I have seen. Every time you start solving the problem, you're the one gets shown because you're solving the problem.
And one thing I've learned, because a lot of this stuff, the first 7 years, I've been doing this for about 12, but the first 7 years, specifically since 2016, I did for free. I didn't have a salary. I didn't get paid for none of it. And, that was cool. But one thing that you learn and that you see is I made a post on Facebook and it said, do people? I didn't make the post. I saw the post. An elected official made a post that said, "Do people in the nonprofit services themselves out of a job?" And 95% of them people said no. So this is an intentional thing of people getting these jobs in these positions, and they want to keep you coming back to them for that same sandwich every time. They're not going to teach you how to cook,
right? And
they're not going to, supply you the food for you to, they want you to keep coming back to them for that same sandwich for as long as they can keep you coming back to them. And that's and the thing is, when you get people who are effective and efficient, and for instance, seven years I ran programming that was successful. And one of them organizations you name is one of the ones I'm talking about with 200-300 kids outside they know could go in there.
Right.
But when I had people coming out of that building like, what's this program? We're going to take our kids out of there, put them in here. Right. And we're not making no money. And I ain't got no staff. Right. But if we're making that much of an impact, then people start to ask questions, well, what they getting all this money for?
Right.
So that becomes a problem. Again, like with the intention in these private, we should be going after the Bucks and the players and the pack, these private dollars to be like, listen, I know they might, somebody, within this organization might be coming and tell you, well, the Boys and Girls Club, we give money to them all the time. The usual suspects get money all the time. But somebody should be going to them like, listen, this is an issue of public safety, and this is where we would like to get people to put money into and give them that different perspective of somewhere more intentional to put dollars to. Then I think we would have a lot more impact, because the way things are set up in Milwaukee, unfortunately, it is a battle of the crumbs all the time. On top of, on top of the fact that if you're not in a buddy system or you're not, one of these huge, conglomerates, that you're going to have a hard time getting any of the crumbs to begin with. So something got to be done differently.
And I want to say too, having spent my whole career in youth services, I want to say too, just what Jesus said. Jesus said, the poor you'll have what you always.
Right.
So for anybody who's watching, who that is your mindset, I got to keep them coming back for the sandwich. Just know that the poor are going to be with us always. And as long as we have a community which we haven't even talked on, which is the decline of family, the breakdown, the systematic breakdown of Black families.
Right.
We haven't even tipped the iceberg in this conversation until we get to that conversation. But as long as we have that, you're going to always have somebody who needs your service.
Right.
So yeah, you should be working yourself out of a job. I remember at CYD, because I knew the kids that we dealt with, we had a Founders Day event. And I stood up and I said, you know what? We need to work so that CYD doesn't need to exist anymore.
Right.
Now, obviously, I was the CEO of CYD, so I didn't want it not to exist. But even then, I understood that, hey, we can graduate the Tory Johnsons, we can graduate the Dr. Whites, we can graduate all of these people, and guess what? Behind them is a whole bunch more who need the same thing that they needed.
Right.
And let's work so that we don't need CYD. That's not saying that anytime soon, CYD. I didn't know that it would be closed within 5 years.
Man.
That ain't what I was talking about.
Mhm.
That's not what I was saying that we need to do, because CYD, the work is needed now more than ever.
Mhm.
Well, let me say this, and I'm gonna put this on record. Okay, Vaughn love keeping people to their word. So let me. The moment I become governor, the resources is going to the Marines, not the Boys and Girls Club. And I'm not talking about the Boys and Girls Club. I'm talking about the good old Boys and Girls Club. We're going to make sure that we have the resources in those communities that looking for solutions. Now, it might take 30 years to put them out of business because the work that they're doing. But what I'm saying is from a man who started with nothing to help the community, who ran transitional home for men who had nowhere to go, ran transitional home for single moms that didn't have nowhere to go. I know the struggle. I know the work. So I know when you come asking for something and you don't have real work, you will not get nothing. I will bypass you guys and go down to the ones that getting their hands dirty so they can continue to get their hands dirty. Now I'm putting that on the record. And you can take that to the bank. Because that's what's needed. Because we don't just have that problem in Milwaukee. We got that problem in Kenosha. We got it in Beloit. We got it in Madison. We got it in Warsaw. You know, we got it in Eau Claire. We got it in La Crosse. We got it all over. But if you can duplicate yourself in a Kenosha, in a Beloit, now we're starting to give our children and our young people hope again. But we have to do the things that needs to be done. And listen, out of 30 years of helping people in the city of Milwaukee, helping them come out of jail, helping them get off drugs, helping them get jobs, everything that they needed in life, I've done in 30 years. And all of the Black Excellent Awards and all the accolades they was giving people, I never got one because I wasn't on that side of the aisle. But I wasn't looking for that, though. But that's how the game's played. We're not going to expose you for what you're doing. We're waiting on you to sneeze wrong so we can expose you what you're not doing. Because now we can get you out the way. Because success and solutions is a threat to the system right now.
I mean, always has been. And I think, today is an election day. I want to say that and remind people of that. One of a few that's happening this year. So people hopefully they take advantage of that. I think as a candidate, one of the things that I get frustrated with people on who won. I made a post this morning saying this voting. Everybody got every excuse for why it don't matter or they shouldn't or you got to do this first and all that. This is a conversation that access and I don't want to say commitments, but having these type of conversations with candidates, right, should be, before somebody asks for your vote or before you just give your vote away to somebody, these are the conversations that should be happening so you can see where people are, right? Because, again, a position that high, I don't have access to Evers, right? Even though Evers is doing some great stuff. I love what he's doing with the whole fact of the not expungements, but the pardons. Hugely needed. Just did the thing with the prevention money. We ain't getting none of that money, but I didn't apply either. So, but those things are important, right? But this is on his way out. You know what I'm saying? And so these are conversations that need to be had beforehand so that we know where people are and then we're not waiting for them to just get in office and then chase them down and try to get them to commit to something, right? So that's hugely important as a candidate for you to make a commitment or even speak on that as a platform as a candidate. And I think, I definitely want to challenge the others to do the same, because we can talk about the platform issues that everybody take this stance or that stance, but what is going to happen as far as public safety? What is going to happen as far as what's happening in these schools and these communities, the stuff that impact real people? We need to see where they are with that stuff.
And not only that, but let me say this before I say that. And she's right. Marianne is right. The rural area has those same problems. So we're talking about everybody, okay, in the state of Wisconsin. And what you also got to do when you're looking at candidates, you need to look at their receipts. If they never invested in our community, what make us think that they're going to invest now after the election? And those that already have an office, what impact did you do for our community? When did you stand up against what's going on with school? When did you stand up against what's going on with crime? When did you stand up against anything that's happening in our community? But you're telling us, oh, I feel you. No, you don't feel us, because where were you? You know, and now you asking for us to vote for you, that you're going to do something for us, but you never done nothing for us in the past. And so I always tell people, I love having what we call conversation with King, where you can come and sit down and not a debate, have conversation. Let's come together and I listen to you, you listen to me. I share what I've done already. I know what it's like. I know what it takes. And so when we have these kind of conversations, you'll realize, oh man, you've been out here for a long time. I ran into a guy, he said, you know, you helped my grandmama. I was like, who's your grandmama? He showed me her picture. I was like, now, and then he put her on the phone. I was like, what's up, lady? She was like, now you helping my grandson. You know, these are the things that we need to see from candidates, because now we got candidates that are real for the people, instead of candidates where they only can go so far to say certain things, knowing that if they go overboard, their party is not going to allow them to say much more. And so we need this. And I do want to encourage everybody to get out and vote. Before you go vote for Supreme Court, just do homework. We're not telling y'all who to vote for, but please, all you got to do is Google. Do some homework and before you just go vote because somebody tell you to vote. I'm not going to tell you to vote for me. And if you say why, just because, I'm going to tell you what I've done. I'm going to tell you what works, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do to make Wisconsin a better place. But I'm not going to sit there and say, just vote for me because I'm black. No, just vote for me because I'm in work that have already committed in the last 30 years. That's what I'm saying. Any last words?
No, I just I'm at a point now where, you know, I'm all about action and getting it, because like you said, I'm not trying to, you know, continue this for another 12, 15, 20 years. You know, I've given a lot.
Right.
I've faced a lot, and you know, my thing is to be as impactful and you know, as efficient as I can be in the years that I got left in this portion of my service for the community, because I do have to start addressing myself and, you know, doing for myself. And now I have to have a stance to where I can't just write grants or go for contracts where I'm not able to even sustain. Right. So trying to shift my life into the grown version of me instead of just pouring from an empty cup. So I'm just in a position I'm willing to do, you know, with whoever's also willing to do the things that can take us to the next level to start impacting some of this stuff. And if not, then I'm gonna just keep doing what I can do as I'm able to do it until I make that transition. So, you know, I just want people, even if you're not gonna vote, right, and you got every reason for it to not, then I hope you do as Brother Ferguson said, and I hope you have a dream where you will be the person on the ballot, right? Since you got all the solutions and you know it all, right. We need somebody who can actually do something. So you can either go about it that way. You can vote for who on the ballot, or you can be on the ballot, right? So one of those, you know, I just encourage people to consider.
So you running for Congress?
You know what? I would probably run for something federal at some point. I want to do something more local. I think I will be more helpful local. But seeing how stuff going federally, you know, I'm not ruling that out either. I think we need it wherever we can be, where we can help.
All levels.
Von Mays for Congress, independent.
Hey, listen.
Dr. Ferguson?
I just appreciate the conversation, and you know, we need more conversations like this, I think, so that we can really start stirring this pot in a productive way. You know, it's a lot of sidebars, but like Vaughn said, I'm a person who you don't see me out doing a lot of talking. And I just do the work. And I've been like that my entire career. And we need more of that. But I do recognize the need for public discourse around this specific topic about resources for our young people. So thank you, Dr. King, for assembling us today for this conversation.
Well, I had to bring y'all two together because y'all ain't talkers, y'all doers. So,
Right.
And that's what we need. Marianne, call me after we get off the air because I just saw what you posted. Call me when we get off the air because I would love to talk to you about that. But also, I just want you guys to know that as we close this out, that we're not just doing this. We're going to put our heads together and we're going to come up with something that is going to be impactful, that's going to be powerful, and that's going to help our young people because they are future. And if we don't do it, then who's going to do it? Mm-hmm. And I want to say to Von Mays, I'm glad that you going into that adult part of, as you called it, because I was there too, right? Have you ever been on an airplane? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, when they're doing the safety on the airplane, the airbag came down, right? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, what do the airbag says? What's the instruction? I said, you put it on me first, and then I help somebody else. She said, say it again. She said, you put it on me first, and then I help others. She said, exactly. It's a shame that your good work is going good, but you don't have what you have to sustain and to live. Mm-hmm. Put the mask on you first, and then go help the others. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you're maturing into that area of because, how much work we do in the community, but if our side is not to, then it's a waste. So again, we want to thank everybody for watching. Think about it Tuesday. Now, I hope we gave y'all something to think about because here's the thing. Like Vaughn says, put up and get on the ballot or be quiet and just vote for who's on the ballot. But if anybody want to run as an independent in this election, give me a call. My number is on the screen, and we can get you started, not as a Democrat, not as a Republican, but an independent, because it is the people that should be always over the parties. God bless. Because the Bible said, when the righteous are in authority, the people